case is closed, but some never rest. When silence screams, we listen. This is dead and wrong.
Hello, I'm Liz,
And I'm Sam.
and this is Dead and Wrong, your weekly podcast for all things dead, people, animals, ghosts, you name it. If it's dead, we are going to cover it. But before we get started, Sam, did you hear about what's happening in Hamden, Ohio?
No.
The 16 children found in deplorable conditions.
No.
This is all that everybody is talking about, like,
What?
especially at work and stuff.
I don't live in your state, dude.
Well, it's pretty big. So for anyone, I'm sure if you're from Ohio, you've heard of this. If not, so there was an investigation and 16 children ranging from the ages of 18 months to 18 years were found in this house. And they were like found in a 12 by 12 room.
Just
They were-
random kids that were stolen?
No,
A person's
All-
kids?
all belonged to one woman. So they were kept isolated in a 12 by 12 room. So they apparently, this whole family was living in a small, like it was a 5-room, 5-bedroom, 1-bathroom home, but all the kids were forced to be in one room. They arrested 4 people, which was a Gary Siders, who was 73, a Christina Siders, 66, a Gary Siders, the second, 36, and then an Elizabeth Siders, who was 33. The crazy thing is, while looking into this, they actually think like the first victim child was Elizabeth.
The 33-year-old?
Her first child, the first one born, Elizabeth was only 13 years old when she gave birth.
I don't want to know who the dad is.
They said some of these kids were feral.
I could believe it.
And obviously a lot of the kids were taken to the hospital. 7 of the children were hospitalized in the Columbus area, including 2 who were flown to trauma centers. There's been no update on exactly what their conditions are. But yeah, I can't remember exactly what happened to get it started, but they went to go investigate it and found this. And so like the whole village was like, we've never even seen any of these kids around.
Sad. So none of them been out in the sun?
None of them been out in the sun. None of them have been going to school.
It's crazy. See, that is bad.
That is very bad. So let's get started with the actual case. Dead and Wrong presents episode 21, The Boy in the Box.
It's not a great start to this episode.
Yes. And I know last week's episode was very, very horrid. This does not go into details. I wanted to cover this for all the work they put into it because his identity was unknown for like 66 years. But I wanted to point out like how hard the Philadelphia police actually worked on this case. So it is February 25th, 1957. 26-year-old Frederick Benanos is hunting down a rabbit in Philadelphia's Fox Chase neighborhood. This neighborhood was a transitioning community. Basically, it was a post-World War II suburb that was meeting rich colonial history, and it was actively growing. Today, it's considered a family-oriented neighborhood in the northeast section of Philadelphia, which is roughly 10 miles from the center city. Frederick had located a rabbit that he'd been hunting and followed it into a row of bushes. While going through the bushes to find the rabbit, he came across something much worse. Sitting in the bushes was a cardboard box for a baby bassinet from JCPenney's. Frederick inspected the box, opened it up, and discovered the naked body of a small boy wrapped in a blanket. The following day, Frederick called the police and reported what he had found.
Why did he wait the following day?
Because of how disturbed he was. They didn't think anything wrong. They looked into it. He was like in shock. Like he didn't collect it or anything. He found it and he left it there and just kind of went home.
Okay.
And then was in shock and was like, shit, I need to call the cops.
I don't agree, but okay.
I mean, you all handle different things the way you see it. So the Philadelphia police sent an investigator to collect the body and the team hit the ground running. The boy who I will call John for now, was determined to be between the ages of 3 and 7, and it was determined that he had died from blunt force trauma. He was severely malnourished, and he was covered in bruises and scars. They were able to collect his fingerprints, but they were not able to identify him at the time, and there were no missing boys that matched his description in the local area. Obviously, this didn't stop them. The police plastered his face all over the city and then pushed out images of him in different newspapers around the country. Basically, they were hoping that someone would be able to identify him and even potentially maybe know or help discover who the killer was. Hundreds of theories and leads did flood in, and the police pursued all of them, even ones that seemed far-fetched just to be on the safe side. One theory they looked into involved John belonging to a nearby foster home. There was also one where it was believed he was from a communist Hungarian family that had fled with the recent revolution. The Hungarian Revolution did start on October 23rd, 1956, and plenty of families had fled for safety. I mean, that could make sense. October 1956. He was found February 1957.
Yeah, could.
And then one crazy lead that they looked into came from a woman who went to the police and claimed that her own mother had purchased John from human traffickers, kept him in her basement, and beat him to death before ultimately disposing of the body. None of these leads panned out. John was eventually buried in an unmarked grave in Potter's Field, and for over half a century, he was simply known as the boy in the box and America's unknown child.
That's really sad that he sat there like that, not having a name to himself, but I'm also really interested in why this girl thought her mom did it. Like, what did that mom do so bad that her daughter was like, hey?
That was my mom. Beat him. Clearly there are some unresolved mommy issues with that woman.
Very much so.
So, over the next 66 years, the police would continue to work on John's case, including exhuming his body twice to collect DNA samples and try to identify him. For those who don't know what exhuming means, basically they take the body from the grave.
Dig him up.
Yep. The first time that they exhumed his body was in 1998. They were able to create a DNA profile for John, but they were unable to get any hits on possible relatives. Also remember, in 1998, DNA was still a newer thing. It was being actively used, but obviously it's not like today where everybody's putting their DNA in Ancestry.com to figure out where they came from.
It was in a baby stage.
2 decades after this, so 2018/2019, the police department was able to implement a new forensic genealogy program that assisted with determining the identities of dozens of unidentified human remains and unknown suspects of different cold cases. By the way, this isn't the first time that we've read about this where like big departments are getting this technology to help with their cold cases, and like good for them.
It was probably like something was broadcasted out to all the stations like, hey, we're creating this thing. Collect your samples.
To try to, I mean, still, they didn't have to. They could have just said, leave them cold. So, like,
yeah.
good for these different agencies, like, actually pushing for it. So, one forensic genealogist named Colleen Fitzpatrick, along with her organization, Identifiers International, was brought onto John's case with hopes that she would be able to help link his DNA with surviving relatives. In 2019, the team had John's body exhumed for the second time, as they needed more DNA. Basically, the sample from 1998 was too insufficient at this point, and so they needed more.
But wouldn't the next round also be insufficient since he's been in there for quite a while and he's decomposed a lot?
I'm guessing they just took a small amount.
Bone marrow?
Yeah, and that just wasn't enough for this new program. So between 2019 and 2022, Colleen and her team developed a new genetic profile for John that finally provided the police with a new lead. They were able to locate a potential maternal relative of John, specifically a distant cousin. Not surprising, as I had mentioned earlier, This happened because the relative uploaded a profile to Ancestry.com using an at-home kit. The team was able to locate these relatives, collect a DNA sample from them, and finally John's mother was identified. And this sounds kind of simple, but it's anything but. Misty Gillis, a genealogist on Colleen's team, used John's DNA sample and matched it with the samples taken from multiple different biological cousins. From there, she produced a genetic network of sorts that provided other family members as leads for the police to track down. Misty told NBC 10 News out of Philadelphia, "We are looking at where those samples married into each other to build a family tree. There was a lot of legwork on the detective side and a lot of collaboration between us on giving them tips on who to speak for." So basically, they would have like one cousin, figure out who the parents of the cousin are, get DNA samples from both, and then match his DNA to theirs to see what side of the branch they needed to go on to.
So they're just following the tree branches back.
All the way back. And then after following the different paths of the family tree, the police were able to pinpoint who they believed the mother was. The police then obtained a court order that allowed them to collect all vital records, including birth certificates that belonged to the woman. They found a few birth certificates, but one in particular gave them the answer they needed. Finally, after 66 years, they knew who John really was. So John was actually Joseph Augustus Zarelli, and he was born to Mary Elizabeth Abel and Augustus John Zarelli on January 13th, 1953. By the way, when I called him John, I didn't even know what the father's middle name was yet. So complete coincidence. At the time of his death, Joseph was only 4 years old. Mary would have been 21 at the time, and Augustus and Mary were not married to each other. So with the birth certificate, they were able to complete the identification of Joseph. They were able to track down family members of Augustus and match their DNA with Joseph's, so they were able to confirm without a doubt John was Joseph. And while they were related with this news, there was still the mystery of what happened to Joseph. So basically what that means was they found the birth certificate, they found who the dad was, and everything they did for the mom, they just did for the dad and confirmed that everything tracked up. So Mary didn't pass away until 1991. And Augustus didn't pass away until 2014, meaning both Mary and Augustus were alive when Joseph went missing and was found, meaning they would have both seen his face all over the news and yet
didn't
said
come forward.
No one ever reported Joseph missing. And when his picture was posted, they didn't come forward and neither did anyone else in the family. Could this have been from the split of Mary and Augustus, the new families that followed? Or could this have been from the possibility that Augustus didn't even know Joseph existed?
Possible.
And this is a little confusing, that last paragraph, so let me explain. So Augustus lived with his parents in 1950 on Callow Hill Street. He was 5 years older than Mary. A relative of Mary's stated that one of her sisters may have been living in the area, specifically West Philadelphia, but her exact location was unknown until 1956, the year before they found Joseph. In December of 1956, a daughter had been born to Mary and her husband at the time, John Plunkett. They were living on the second floor of a walk-up apartment. Eventually, they would move to Nicetown, PA, and have 2 other children. So he died. A few years later, he was found.
Okay, hang on. You said he died. Did John Plunkett die, or are we talking about Joseph, the kid?
Correction. Let me go back. So obviously, Joseph was found dead in 1957. Less than a year prior than that, Mary had already been remarried and had another kid on the way.
So do you think John Plunkett, the new husband, had no idea she had the previous child?
Yes. I will explain more. I don't think the parents actually had anything to do with this.
Okay.
So Augustus married a woman named Cynthia Pashko in 1958. He finally moved out of his parents' homes and started a construction and real estate business in Chester County. Today, most of his children have settled down their own roots in the area. When Augustus's living relatives were questioned about everything, and this included some of his kids, they stated he was loved by all of his children, well respected by his peers, and showed signs of grace in difficult times. For the living children of Augustus, while they made no active comments to the media, they did have a spokesperson for them, which was their attorney, Dan Bush. And Bush said, each of his children is extraordinarily sympathetic to the death of this young boy and horrified by the events that are being discussed. However, until recently, they never heard of any of this. They have never been shown anything that links their father or any member of their family to this. So
basically, they were blindsided by the whole situation as well.
They were. And like I said, in 1958, he married and moved out, which meant during the time that Joseph would have been born, killed, and left, he was still living at home with his parents. And I believe Mary was living with one of her sisters until she met her husband. Yes.
Okay.
So different members from both sides of the family did show up to the rededication of Joseph's headstone. So the Philadelphia Police Department, once he was identified, got him a new headstone.
Okay.
And not surprising, everybody was blindsided, both sides of the family. On Augustus's side specifically, some of them began actually looking into the case themselves. They wanted to honor Augustus by finding out what happened to Joseph, and they wanted to give this little boy that they now considered family the closure he deserved. So to them, because this is Augustus's child, whether he knew about it or not, it was their family. And they're like, this boy deserves closure.
Well, yeah, but no matter what, it is your family. That's DNA.
Yeah. But I mean, they did more and beyond than what they really needed to. So I'm not saying like kudos to them, like good job. I'm glad that they stepped up and did something for a boy that they no clue who he was. So while this was all a big jump for the police department, there are still two very important questions that have been left unanswered and therefore have left this an open case. Who killed Joseph and why? And the weirdest thing is that neither family thought Augustus or Mary could have done anything to this child. Or like, it doesn't make sense for their personalities.
So what, did Mary give the child up?
I believe so. So the biggest hiccup for solving this is obviously the fact that both of Joseph's parents have already passed. And they believe that more than likely the suspect had passed away too. As of today, the case is still open and the police are investigating some potential leads that they now have. In 2022, Captain Jason Smith stated, "I'm hopeful that there's somebody out there in their mid to late 70s, possibly early 80s, who remembers this child. There would have been someone out there who would have seen him, perhaps another family member that hasn't stepped forward, possibly a neighbor that remembers seeing the child, that remembers whatever was occurring in whatever household he was in." That's what I'm hoping comes out of this. In January 2023, for his 70th birthday, the new headstone was dedicated to Joseph. So they dedicated it to him on his 70th birthday.
Okay.
It features his name and a picture of him. And from what I've read, his living siblings are aware of his identity and are helping the police in any way and are hoping for closure of what happened to their brother. So both sides of the family are like, no, like, this is our little brother. We want answers.
That's good.
Which I think is adorable.
It is.
As of 2026, this case is still ongoing. It is an active homicide investigation. The police are offering a $20,000 reward for information that would lead to an arrest or a conviction, or both. I just wanted to do a quick theory/discussion because I think this finds it interesting. So before Joseph was born, Mary had gotten pregnant and given birth to a little girl who she gave up for adoption.
So Mary has a pattern.
It was in 1950. She was given up for adoption. Some family members that are still alive noted that around the time of Joseph's birth, they don't even remember Mary being pregnant. I think Mary did hide her pregnancy and then gave Joseph up for adoption. It's the 1950s, and now she's pregnant with her second child out of wedlock.
Yeah.
Augustus's family believes that there is a chance he didn't know anything about Joseph, and the police actually have no credible allegations from anyone that he knew of the pregnancy or the birth. There's a very, very high chance, like 90% chance, that Augustus had no dealings with Joseph at any point.
So this just popped in my head, but Mary left from her home to go to West Philadelphia to live with the sister, and I am using air quotations. 1950s. If you were pregnant and families needed to hide it, they would say that you were visiting family in another city, but you were going to an all-girls home to give birth, and then the child be given up for adoption. So if Mary was there, gave birth to her little girl, gave that little girl for adoption, then something happened. She was either, trigger warning, raped in the facility, or when she, was able to venture out of the facility, something happened, or she found a cute boy in the area, Augustus, and they had a fling, but she was still in this home, this facility, and she had to stay there to give birth again. Because if nobody knew exactly where she was during a certain amount of years, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's my 2 cents.
It makes sense, besides the fact that she was one of 6 girls and her sister legitimately lived in the area.
Right. She could have legitimately lived in the area, but do they know that she actually physically lived with her sister during that time? Or are they just saying that to cover it up?
True. Okay.
Because it is the 50s.
I personally, with everything, is, for one, I don't think Augustus knew. I'm going to guess up it was a hookup that ended up in pregnancy.
Yeah, probably from
and then,
going to the local malt shop.
Yep. And then Joseph was giving up for adoption, or honestly, probably dropped off at the firehouse because that was big back then. And because of probably the disgrace of the first child, she was doing her best to hide the disgrace of the second child. Not saying like in the 1950s, having kids out of wedlock was a disgrace for women.
It was disgrace to the whole family.
True. So did she somewhat hide it, stay with a sister, or like you said, a house, and then the baby was just dropped off at the firehouse, so there was no way of it being connected back to her?
Yeah.
And then I personally think that whoever he was fostered by are the people who killed him.
I think so too.
So when everything was being posted, I don't think they even realized it was their own kid. I mean, obviously, Augustus for sure had no clue he had a kid, but I bet there was no way Mary recognized him.
Did they even do an autopsy on him?
I didn't see anything about it.
So did they say he was strangled, or they just said he was dead?
Blunt force trauma.
To his head?
It just said blunt force trauma.
I wonder, if he had some type of medical issue that nobody knew about, and these adopted parents freaked out or something. Who knows? Speculating. But yeah, as soon as this picture's probably up all over the TV, they have no idea who they're looking at. It's just another kid. And they don't recognize him at all.
So a little bit information about the autopsy was put out. The captain had stated he had multiple bruises that were visible on his body, and his hair had been crudely cut close to the scalp. The autopsy confirmed he was between the ages of 4 and 6, and found he had sustained multiple abrasions, contusions, and subdural hemorrhage and pleural effusions.
Dang. I wonder if he was at a orphanage and they just couldn't take another hit.
Maybe. And then they just dumped him, hoping that. The commissioner at the time, Danielle Outlaw, stated in his very short life, it was apparent that this child experienced horrors that no one should ever be subjected to.
Yeah. And we all know that orphanages were not.
They don't do what they should be doing.
No. They were the worst.
And, I feel bad because for Mary, is she probably thought that by giving up her kid, it was going to give him a better life because he wouldn't have the stigmatism behind him of a child being born out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And she probably, in her mind, I'm at 21 years old, still trying to figure everything out. She was probably like, this is what I need to do. Give him to the firehouse. He can go somewhere or wherever and be taken care of and, a fresh life. From the sounds of it, because both Augustus and Mary were noted being good parents after getting married. They both stayed married to the same person until they died. Kids never had anything bad to say about them. So something tells me that it's not like Mary didn't care. Mary was trying to do what she thought was best.
Yeah.
And it just went horribly wrong. And low key, I am happy that both parents were dead, that they're dead, because...
Have that shock to find out that child was actually theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'd been horrible.
Worse for Mary than Augustus, because Mary, it's like, I gave him up hoping he would have a better life, and he didn't even make it to 5 years old.
From Augustus' side, I had a kid? I didn't even know. Maybe I would have helped. Maybe I would have taken the kid on.
Mm-hmm.
All those what-if questions.
But... shout out to the Zarelli family because of the fact that his living siblings, specifically on his dad's side, are like, no, technically this is our big brother because they were all born after him. We're gonna do what's right and we're going to help in any way possible.
That shows a good supporting family that they grew up in.
Yeah, that shows that they are from a good family, which tells me Augustus really did not know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Because
agree.
you don't get like that if you're raised by a crappy dad and crappy grandparents.
No.
This is something that's been instilled in them.
Yeah, good family values.
So that is the story of the boy in the box. Like I said, very sad about what happened to him. I'm glad that we don't know exactly what happened to him. Do I think that they will be able to get an arrest? No, but I still hope that for the current family's sake that they can at least say they know who did it. I mean, I'm at
I
this
don't know.
point,
I don't know what to say. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm happy that they gave him a name. I'm happy that they were able to figure out who it was. They
Yeah,
gave
so he can rest in
him a
the
name and he
afterlife.
can rest and in a way potentially be with his family in the afterlife.
I think this might give him that family for the afterlife.
Something tells me at least Augustus for sure is. I think Augustus will take him in with open arms. I think Mary will too, but I don't know, something more so Augustus than Mary for me.
I wouldn't write her out so quick. She just might not have known.
Yeah, so a lot better than last week.
That was a lot easier than last week. Sad, but
I'm
not
really sad, but I really wanted to
traumatizing.
go over this because of the work of the police department.
Not giving up on the boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always it's good not to give up on cases like that.
And just
Everybody needs a name.
It's still unsolved, yes, but they did the most important part, which was figuring out who he was and giving him his name back.
I would agree with that.
Anyways, that is our story.
Yeah, that was fun. It wasn't bad. It was much easier than the last one.
I gave her a warning for this one.
She did. She called and asked permission.
Days in advance.
As a reminder, we do have socials up and running. We have Facebook, Instagram, X, and we're streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, and YouTube. Please remember to follow us. Please remember to follow us on social as we start to grow a little bigger, which we love seeing more of you pop in there. It's very nice.
Yeah, we're getting random follows on Facebook and Instagram, and I love it. I smile every single time I see someone, and I'm like, I don't know who they are.
It's the only time I ever want to not know who you are. Pop up on a friend request. If you would like to reach out to us for case suggestions or potential stories, you can email us at deadandwrongpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on any of our social media sites. And as always, thank you for listening, and we will see you next Sunday for another episode full of all things dead. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.